because of the things we were going, because of the suspected relationship between you and him, because of all of those things, you were listed, as a suspect, but you knew that, right? Okay. So I'm telling you that the investigation shows that he had something to do with it. The interesting part, though, is that he implicated you in it.
In the dead of night on November 16, 2017, the police received a 911 call from Tia Young. Tia Young claimed that she heard gunshots and found out that her husband had been shot by an unknown gunman. But as investigators peeled back the layers of this harrowing tale, a web of deception unraveled before their eyes. Enter Harvey Tim Lee, Tia's clandestine lover and an unexpected accomplice in a crime that would send shockwaves through their tight-knit community. Amidst the chaos of that fateful night, witnesses watched in disbelief as Tim, the very man implicated in the shooting, and Tia's live-in lover emerged from the scene and tampered with evidence, swiftly removing a clandestine tracking device from the victim's vehicle. Yet the plot thickens. In a bombshell revelation, Tim Lee broke his silence, implicating Tia Young in a sinister scheme that would leave her husband, George Young, dead. But what drove Tia to orchestrate such a nefarious act? The answer lay in cold, hard cash, a staggering $1 million life insurance policy, tantalizingly within reach. This is the final police interrogation video before Tia Young's arrest.
He said you guys were in a relationship and that you were the mastermind behind all of this, and it was your idea because you wanted the $1 million life insurance policy, and he could take over George's job, and you guys would be set to be together. And that was the whole deal.
Well, I can tell you that's a lie. That's a lie.
So I want to hear from you the truth and what was really going on, because if that's what he's telling me and I already know he's involved, you see how that makes it look?
First of all, like I said, I don't know that he's involved. I don't know anything about what happened that night. Nothing.
Well, listen,
I didn't even know the policy was any good until me and Rob called a couple days later. I heard 2 loud noises. I wasn't sure if it was firecrackers or what it was. I sat up on my bed, looked around. My baby boy was still asleep. If I remember correct, I think I went to Tim's room, but he wasn't there. His light was on. Then I remembered he was downstairs on the computer or a laptop at the table. I don't think I went to my mom's room right away. I think I went downstairs to where he was. And I think as I got almost down to the bottom step, he was coming up. He asked me, did I hear it? I said, yeah, I heard it. He said, it sounded like shots. I said, I'm not sure if it was shots or firecrackers or what it was.
So, like I said, the reason I brought you back in here today is I have follow-up questions. I kind of want to go over it again because that's just at the point that we're at now. That it's been a couple months. Sometimes bringing people back in and going over the story helps us find if there was something you didn't remember the first time. The thing is with it, the first time we talked and then you came up here and then we talked to you at the house, and I understand that there were some issues with that. It had gotten pretty confrontational, I guess, the way that some people had talked to you, right, at the house?
Yes, very.
Okay. So what I want to do today is just kind of walk back through what you can remember. Sometimes over time people remember things that they didn't remember the first time. I'll help kind of jog your memory as we go of things that you told me, and maybe you'll tell me something you didn't remember the first time, okay? So just start out that night. I know that you said you had gone, or you were in bed. Were you like in a deep sleep, or were you just kind of sleeping, or what was going on then?
As far as I remember, I was in a deep sleep.
Okay. And then what happened? Okay.
And I called 911. The lady goes through the whole thing. What's your emergency? And then I told her that my husband we heard gunshots, and my brother opened the door and said that it was my husband. She needed to know, I think, where the shots were is what she needed to know. And yeah, that's the first thing she asked. I told her I couldn't do it. I couldn't go down there. So she said, is there anybody that can? I said, my brother. So he looked, told me what he thought he saw. So I relayed it to her. Then she wanted me to do CPR. I don't know CPR, first of all, and if I did, I don't think I'd have been able to gather myself to do it. I don't know. I could have, but I don't think so.
Okay.
So she asked me, is there anybody that could? I asked Tim, could he do it? He said, yeah. At some point, I remember throwing my phone down so he could talk to the operator. And then at some point, I don't remember, at some point I went and got my mom. She wasn't asleep, I thought she was. She was in the room with the TV up loud.
Okay. So you were sleeping, you heard these shots, you come down, Tim's sitting at the table, you ask him if he heard that, he's like, yeah, he heard that. Did he go check out the door first, or did he go get his gun first?
If I remember right, I thought he went upstairs to get his gun first, but I didn't actually watch him go in there and get it.
Okay.
I think I remember him going up the steps heading to his room, but I can't swear to it.
Okay, and you were on the platform? Catwalk. Oh, you were upstairs? On the catwalk thing?
Yeah, by the time he went down to check on George, that's where I was standing.
So he goes outside, he opens the door, he sees it's George. And I know at some point he put his gun up. When did he do that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was after. I don't know if it was after emergency people got. I don't know. I really can't be honest. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. So he goes outside. At some point, he puts his gun up. He sees George, and he tells you, "It's George" and whatnot. And then, is that when he tells you to call 911, or did you ever go down to the door, or no?
No, hell no. I never went to the door.
Okay.
I stood up at the top where you could see over the thing.
Okay.
All I could see was like his feet and legs on the door open.
Okay. And when you went and woke your mom up, what did you tell her?
Well, she wasn't asleep.
When you went?
Yeah, I just said something bad has happened to George. Mommy, something bad has happened to George. And of course, she sat straight up. What do you mean, or what are you talking about? And I said, Mommy, George has been shot. And she said, no. I think she might have asked me first, is it a car? Did he have a wreck or what? Because she knew he was working at night with Rob. And I said, no. And by then, I think I was breaking down. And I said, Mommy, George was shot. And she said, where is he, at the Lennox thing? I said, no, he's at the front door. And of course, I wasn't that calm, but she couldn't hardly digest it. So we walked out of the room. She stood with me on the little balcony thing, and I'm telling her, I'm walking her basically through what I'm telling you. She stayed fairly calm. I think she was in shock, just like I was. But she could see Tim down there. Like I said, you can see George's legs and feet from that angle, but that's all you could see. We could tell Tim was on his knees. I don't know. I think we just both just stood there in shock.
Yeah.
I think she was standing next to me whenever I threw my phone down, I think, but I can't remember. I know at one point I had to throw my phone down for 911 to talk to him about the CPR.
Do you ever remember him leaving the area right there with George to go anywhere else out in the yard or anything like that?
Not that I remember, but I do know at one point I did go pee in my bathroom.
Okay.
So, but where that fell into it, I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay. All right. Have you talked to Willie or any of those people from Ackerman since?
The last time I talked to Willie was it the day of the funeral? I think the day of the funeral. I haven't talked to anybody.
All right.
I was a little disappointed. They didn't reach out hardly at all.
Okay. I remember they said something about a donation or fund or something like that. We had talked when we first talked. Did they ever do anything about that?
They never did do one.
Okay.
They didn't. They may have sent a flower, but I never even saw a flower.
Okay.
I saw some things from Salvation Army, which he did a lot of work for. Macy's with Rob sent flowers. Ackerman, to my knowledge, the only thing they did was the 150 obituaries, and we paid for another 100 to be done.
Okay.
But they contributed 100. I think it was 150.
Okay.
But that was it.
What do you remember about? Rob. When's the last time you talked to Rob? Have you been talking to him?
He called me 2 weeks ago. I text him once or twice a week since he had the heart surgery. He verbally called me, I think 2 weeks ago. It's the first time I actually heard his voice, just to tell me he was okay. He left. Well, we talked, and then I think last week he left me a voicemail.
Okay.
But we text about once a week.
Okay. What about Ivy and her mom? Have you talked to them?
I don't talk to Ivy at all. I talk to the mom usually once or twice a week.
Okay.
His mom is the only person in his family that I deal with.
Okay. How's she been?
It's good. I mean, it's good as can be, but yeah, she's the only one that talks to me, checks on the kids, and she calls my mom usually twice a week.
Okay. I think when I was talking to Tim, he had said that, because I kind of talked about how everybody just seemed so shocked that he was living there and nobody wanted to believe that Tim had been living in the house for long. And I guess, is it Marjorie? Is that his mom's name?
George's mom.
Yeah, stood up for Tim and said, no, I knew that he had been living
I didn't
here.
know. She told him, I think, 2 or 3 months before. But that didn't come out till a few days after he died. She actually brought up that she knew it.
Okay.
He told her.
What is your opinion? Why do you think George kept that from everybody? Because that seems to be a huge issue for everybody.
I think because George is very private, very, very private. I know at one point he did state early in the game, he didn't never sit down with me and the kids and say, don't tell nobody. But he did mention that he wasn't going to mention it to Rob or anyone right then, because he said he didn't want to embarrass Tim or make it look like this man can't even afford to have a place to lay his head. But it wasn't like a family discussion that nobody better not tell that he lives here, nothing like that. So I don't know. Like I said, I thought Rob knew after February made 2 years that Tim was here. So I guess when George died, it was 18 months or something like that. But I just assumed Rob knew. I thought at some point George probably told him. I never knew that he didn't tell him. I didn't know until that night that Rob flipped out and was just like, I didn't know he stayed here. I never knew that he didn't tell his family until they cut up when they got there. But like I said, we've had people live with us before, not in this house. Me and George have taken in, I think Tim is the 4th person, not counting my mom. When we were married a little less than a year, we lived in Myrtle Beach in a 1-bedroom apartment. A girlfriend of mine got put out, her and her baby. We took her in. She stayed 6 months. Slept on the couch in the living room. After her, I think a year later, another girlfriend with her 2 children stayed with us. So we've taken in, that's just, when we hear people in need, but that's just what we've always done. I think the longest we've had anybody stay is Tim, but the 2 females, and I'm talking about in Myrtle Beach, one I think was 6 months and one was 9. And that was in a 1-bedroom apartment.
So you talked to Rob.
But about the case, nothing about the case, because he made it clear before his surgery he had to remove himself from any stress dealing with this, any stress from his business. He's got even Ray, I think Ray, his partner, is taking care of the business until I think he's recovering for 10 to 12 weeks. So that's when he told me, look, I know you don't like dealing with the detectives. I know you're trying to stay out of it because of what went down, but you're going to have to step up because I can't do it. I can't risk my health, my recovery. And I'm not heartless, so I understood. And that's when I started reaching out. But until then, I just didn't, because I will say you to me were never nasty to me. I felt like you were doing your job. The other ones probably were doing their job too, but the way the black gentleman talked to me in my yard that night, they followed us home from here. The way he talked to me, that's probably part of the job too. I don't know. But for somebody to stand in my face and tell me that, I've been doing this blah, blah, many years, I don't remember how many he said, 20, I don't know. And I can look at you and I tell you, full of shit, you're a fucking liar. That did something to me, because I was going through enough as it is, but for you to talk to me like that in my yard, and it was people on the porch, like, that's part of what sparked this beef with me and my husband's family. And then the way the lady, the female, talked to me in the car when it was with me and you, I think it was when she came back in the house and got me. I just was to the point, I told Rob, you can deal with them, I'm not dealing with them. They made it clear, they don't believe a fucking word that I say. They think everything I say is a lie, so there's no need for me to talk to them. If you want to deal with them, you deal with them. Until then, if they don't contact me, I'm not contacting them. And so that's when Rob said, well, I don't mind. I will do that. I'll be kind of the correspondent between the 2. But when he had to step out, he had to. So.
Oh yeah, David. Have you talked to David much at all? I don't know what your relationship was with him.
I've only met David at the funeral. Well, he came to the house, I think, a couple of days before the funeral. Brought some food. I think he brought food. I saw him at the funeral, and I think I've seen him once since. But I don't really know him. I know him if I see him, that's it. We don't talk on the phone or anything like that. Text, none of that.
Okay. So he's still working with Tim, though, right? They're working for some other
guy.
Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, is I've talked to Tim, and one of the things that, I'll just be honest with you, in the beginning, issues with him is, we had talked to you, and you had told us what you had told us, and there was, I won't say there was much to that, but Tim just seemed, there was a lot more confrontation going on with him during the first interview, and talking to him the day that you guys came up there, because of that whole tracker thing, which you said you didn't know.
So George came to me about it, but like I said, I never knew it was actually purchased and the whole nine. But
okay, so did you know the night that happened before whatever was going on with you and Tim, that he had gone and retrieved that off the car?
No, not until you told me.
Okay.
I think it was the night I was here on the 18th.
But what do you think about that? I mean, why
Well,
would
when
he...
you said it, I was floored because, like I said, first of all, I didn't even realize the tracker was ever purchased. And then when you told me that a neighbor or somebody saw him take it off, I found it really strange, and I even asked him about it later.
And what did he say?
I didn't ask him about it that night. He said with what George had going on or whatever about, remember when I told you the guy who came to town? He said he just didn't want, I guess, George, I think he said he just didn't want George being exposed in a bad light or something like, I don't know, something like that. But I haven't asked him anything about it since.
Did you feel like that was, and I just want your opinion on it because I'll tell you how it looks to us. Do you think that was weird that in the moment that his friend is laying out on the front porch bleeding out, his first thought is to go to the car and pull that off instead of rendering aid to George?
Yeah, I found that weird. And that was before he did CPR?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I found that strange. Weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously I do. That's why I want to know.
Yeah.
And we asked him, and he admitted that he went and did it, and he didn't have a good answer. He didn't really have an answer as to why. He said he didn't want you to find it or the family to find it, and they would know. But I said it's under the car. Who's going to look under the car? That's weird.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, let me just ask you: do you think that have you ever felt that he may have been involved in this in any way?
I don't. I mean, I know that part of it doesn't add up at all. But I personally, the only reason I don't, well, not the only reason, but I just never seen any beef between the two of them at the house. I've never heard George, and me and George had a really good relationship as far as he would tell me about stuff that went on, or he got into it with somebody at Ackerman, or whatever. But he never mentioned to me ever that they had a beef, disagreement. Like I said, even Tim had went to him several times about, I can go ahead and leave now. You gave me 6 months. You told me after 6 months, George came to me. You want him to go? Are you cool with it? I mean, it's a help to us because he's paying rent. And then at the end of the year, he came to George again. Do you want me to go? And George came to me and was like, what do you think? Because I'm cool with him being here. I go out of town so much. I feel better with him here. So it's like George never let on that he had a beef or was threatened or scared of him. Or I just never witnessed anything. And the kids haven't, and as far as I know, my mom has it. So I just, that part doesn't make sense.
Do you think he was jealous over the position that he wasn't making as much money as George?
I don't think it was that, because he was making good. Like George started him, I think, at $23 an hour. I think it was 23, and his first raise was up to like 26. So I don't think it was that. And I know there's been several times George couldn't make payroll, and he had to go to David and Tim and, can I give you half or 1,000, and I pay you the rest? And they've always said yes every time. Never know. He's never come back and told me, oh my God, Tim is hot, or David is pissed. And then he's borrowed money from Tim before. And Tim told him, pay me back when you can. He's fixed my car several times because George didn't have the money, neither did I. And he just told George, pay me when you can. It's fine. And to my knowledge, George has paid him back every time.
Okay.
Now I know this last time, I think the last time I got it fixed was in October. That was a transmission. I think it was like over $2,300. I don't think we finished that off yet. I think we gave him maybe 13 of it. But George was in the process between the two of us paying it back.
Okay.
But that's the only part I don't know. If I had something to go on, something I've seen, it's just nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll kind of just go into what I have, okay? So after talking to him, and I've talked to David multiple times, and then I talked to Tim again today, okay? I tell you right now, I have a whole lot of stuff that points to Tim had something to do with it, okay? And I know him and David were good friends and some stuff was going on. I went over there and just talked to him now, and obviously you guys knew you were coming up here and I wanted to follow up with him, but that's because I knew I was going to talk to him about the stuff that I had found, okay? I'll say that conversation went pretty quickly, okay? There's not a whole lot that he was going to be able to deny. So I'm telling you that the investigation shows that he had something to do with it. The interesting part, though, is that he implicated you in it. He said you guys were in a relationship and that you were the mastermind behind all of this, and it was your idea because you wanted the $1 million life insurance policy,
That's
and he could take over George's job, and you guys would be set to be together. And that was the whole deal.
Well, I can tell you that's a lie. That's a lie.
So I want to hear from you the truth and what was really going on, because if that's what he's telling me and I already know he's involved, you see how that makes it look?
Yeah, but that's bullshit. I can tell you that's bullshit.
Okay, well tell me
I don't, first of all, like I said, I don't know that he's involved. I don't know anything about what happened that night. Nothing.
Well, listen,
I didn't even know the policy was any good until me and Rob called a couple days later.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm used to struggling. Mm-hmm. Me and George have struggled our entire marriage financially. Mm-hmm. I would never hurt or take anybody's life for no money. Mm-hmm. And like I said, first of all, I know at one point George had $1 million one, a 450, and then I had a 250 on me. Mm-hmm. I knew he had at some point dropped mine. Mm-hmm. I didn't know he dropped the 450 until me and Rob started our calls and found out one was no good and the other one was. Mm-hmm. But him taking over the business, I know nothing about that. Okay. That was never a discussion we had.
One of the things that Ivy said was you told her that there was the $1 million policy way earlier last year.
Who?
Ivy.
Me and Ivy have never discussed an insurance policy, never. Now George told me at some point that Ivy knew about it. Him and Ivy were very close, and she used to work for George remotely from Myrtle Beach. She could log on and do work for him. Mm-hmm. So at one point, I don't know, I think it was a couple years ago, he said that an email that I guess the insurance company sent him, Ivy saw it, or I don't know, she could access I think she could access his massive email. And so he told me, he said, now Ivy knows about the insurance, policies that we have, but me and Ivy would have always been close. Mm-hmm. I was closer to her than any of the other ones. So even when he mentioned to me that she knew about it, I was cool with it. I mean, that's fine. We were close, so I didn't care that she knew. But like I said, I knew he had a policy, but I didn't know it was active because I knew he had dropped one, I don't know, earlier last year. So I didn't know if any of them were any good. I didn't.
Okay.
So no conversation ever went on about no insurance, him taking over no business, or none of that. That's bullshit.
Okay.
I don't even know why he'd say that because that never happened.
I guess obviously the concern is, I'm telling you, the thing with him is he got the tracker. He got it. He had tried to put some apps on George's phone before then, and he said George knew about those. I know for a fact George didn't know because I have his text messages where he explained to George that it was that Zena was trying to do that to him. But I know for a fact they only were signed up through his phone because I could tell that he did that. So he was trying to find ways to track George, and George didn't know it, which is why I have a hard time believing about him knowing that the tracker was going to be on the car, because he didn't know about the other stuff on the phone. Because why would you explain to him Zena did it and explain it away if he knew that's what you were trying to do? You would just tell him, this is what I'm doing. Because when he downloaded those apps, it sends a notification to the person you're trying to track. So George was like, why am I getting this notification? You're trying to track my phone. And he said, oh, well, Zena's been trying to track me, which is not true.
Okay, yeah, this is new to me.
Also, he was looking at that app for the tracker, which in his words is only supposed to be in case something was going to happen to him, to find the truck, not him, which is weird that you're only worried about the car and not him. And he was looking at it from the day that he bought it on the 6th. He was looking at it every single night. And he was looking at it the night before George came home.
You saw the night of the 16th?
Mm-hmm.
So the tracker sends a message to his phone? I mean, I'm confused.
Okay, so a couple of days prior to the murder, earlier in the month of November, he tried to download these apps on your phone, just like an iPhone app or a Samsung Android, I'm not sure how that one works, where you can track somebody's phone. Well, when you do that, you're not allowed to do that without their permission. So when you put in that person's number that you want to track, it sends them a notification. I have it on George's phone where he got the notification and then asked, Tim, why am I getting this? And he said, oh, Zena's trying to track me because of stuff going on with her. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry about it. But I know for a fact he signed up for it because it came to his email through his phone number that he signed up for it. He has to download the app on the phone. So you see what I'm saying? So George didn't know he was trying to track him. Otherwise, he would have been like, hey, I'm tracking you because we talked about this before. Remember?
Oh, okay. I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then he got that actual tracker and was using it, the one he put on the car.
Okay.
He was looking at that one on his phone.
Okay.
We have the app, and I can show every time he opened it, every single night from the night that he bought it up until the night of the murder. And he was looking at it the night of the murder before George got home. So he knew when George was going to be home because he was watching him on the map.
Okay, so... Oh, Jesus. So did...
And before that,
he had somebody do it? I'm lost.
That's what I'm asking you.
Hell, I don't know. I have no idea.
Before that, he was researching all kinds of poisonous things online. He researched black mamba venom, which is the most venomous snake in the world. You cannot buy their venom online like he was trying to over 27 times. That's how many times he looked it up to try to find. He tried to find the venom, then he tried to find breeders where he could buy the snakes himself. You see how that looks? And then a week later you buy a tracker to put on his car, and then I know that you're looking at it the night of the murder. And the first thing you did, instead of helping your friend, was run out to the car and take the tracker off? Who does that? You know what I'm saying? In front of a jury, when you look at that and say, what would a reasonable person do? No reasonable person would jump over a dead body or somebody who's dying to go pull something off a car. That would be the last of their worries.
Right.
So that's my question to you. Now, the problem is that now he's bringing you into it.
I have nothing to do with it and know nothing about it. That's what I'm saying.
So you called the insurance the very next day, right?
The next day or 2 days later, I can't remember.
So it was the next day. And do you see how that looks, though?
But my mom could tell you if you talk to her. She started bothering me that next morning. Mm-hmm. She said, Tia, you need to, do you have insurance? How are you going to do a funeral or anything? And I said, Mommy, and she could tell you if you call her right now before I can even reach her. I said, Mama, I can't deal with that now. Mm-hmm. I'll worry about that later. I said, I'm overwhelmed with what just happened. Mm-hmm. And so she kept saying that. And matter of fact, it was her and I'm not sure. It might have been even after George's mom and his sisters arrived.
Why did you want to call the insurance that soon, though, the very next day?
That's what I'm saying. My mom is the one that kept telling me I needed to call.
Okay.
She kept, because she knew I didn't have a job. Mm-hmm. She said, how are you going to do a funeral if you don't know if he has a policy? Mm-hmm. And I said, Mama, I'll get to that in a couple of days. I said, right now I'm overwhelmed with what just happened. Mm-hmm. This was he died on Thursday. This was like Friday. When I had several people, like friends, asking me, do you have insurance? Do we need to take up something for funeral? And I said, my mom keeps bugging me, but I haven't called yet. Mm-hmm. So then even Rob, when I talked to Rob said, do you know if Cuz had insurance? Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know. Mommy keeps bugging me about calling. So that's when Rob said, well, let me look for the policy with you. We'll call together before I leave. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't my first reaction. Like I said, you can call my mom right now, and she would tell you. Okay. She was the one egging me on that I needed to call because she was worried about funeral expenses. She knows she only gets $1,300 a month. She knows I didn't have a job. So her big thing was, what are we going to do about a funeral with no money? But after I called, she said it was effective. She said, I'm going to email you the papers I need to fill out. You can ask the lady. She emailed them, I think, to me on Friday. I didn't even print them off, I don't think, till like Saturday or Sunday. Mm-hmm. Mommy kept asking me, have you filled the things out? Have you printed them? If you even call the insurance company, I don't think I sent them the stuff till the next week or a week and a half later. Because I wasn't in a rush because it's like I was too overwhelmed with everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. But yes, I made maybe 3 calls, I think, to Mutual of Omaha since then. Mm-hmm. I stopped calling. They told me about, 10, 11, 12 weeks ago, Miss Young, whenever you're cleared or whatever, we will call, send an email, and mail you something in the mail. Mm-hmm. You don't have to keep calling. And I haven't called them since, and it's probably been close to 3 months. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, I don't keep, I just write it out of my head, and I've told numerous people who have said, did you get your life insurance? A lot of people don't know how much it is. Mm-hmm. But have you gotten your life insurance? I said no. It's still an investigation. I told them I haven't even called.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things is that we get these Crime Stoppers tips. Yes. And both of these right here have him listed on it that people want us to look into him. You see what I'm saying? So it's one thing after another.
I see what you're saying, but I can tell you I don't know nothing about it. Okay. I would never trade my husband's life ever for money. Mm-hmm. And I've made that comment to numerous of family members and friends, and I mean it. I really mean it. Because that doesn't replace him or my kids having a father.
Correct. So why do you think that Tim's going to be doing something like this?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. This is new to me. None of this makes any sense to me.
So you guys were, so what is he, so what about the part where he says that you and him have been in a relationship for a long time?
We have not. We've been in a very close friendship. He's like, we started off like, it's like we're brothers. First of all, it was like he was a stranger when he first came because I haven't seen Tim probably in 15, 20 years since he was young. The longer he was there, because he is very quiet, we became close. Mm-hmm. But that I'm not understanding that either. I don't know.
One of the things I talked to Zena, his ex, and she said that she had found out through him that he was seeing somebody named Tia, and that he had been calling around, and he kept changing up which Tia it was. And then she called you one day when you and George were at a hotel or something like that and confronted you. Do you remember that?
She didn't call me and George at no hotel. She called my job. She called my the hospital that I work at, and asked me some questions. She asked me, was I Tia? She didn't ask Young. She said Tia. It was another last name she asked me. I can't remember what the girl's name was. And I said, no, but I'm Tia Young. And she said, do you know Tim? I said, yeah, Tim lives with us. So she said, oh, so you're she said, so you're George's wife? I said, yes, I'm Tia Young. She said, do you know anything about a Tia, whatever the girl? Anyway, the girl worked for DeKalb County. She was a teacher or a band coach or something, I don't know. So she asked me some questions, and do I know anything about Tim and messing with this girl named Tia who worked for DeKalb? I said, no.
Okay. Do you know a Christy Lewis?
I've heard of Christy. I think it's one of Tim's friends from Mississippi or Alabama.
Okay. Because it looks like, I don't know. He was emailing her back and forth. He said, I apologize for everything. I wish all this could stop, but I feel like I'm going to end up dead over all of this. Sorry for getting you involved.
Yeah, I know Chris. I never met her. I know he has a best friend, close friend named Christy.
Well, they've been talking more than that. They've been talking romantically through the summer of last year.
Oh, okay.
There's another girl named Candy. Do you know Candy?
I've heard of Candace. I think that's a girl. Well, he had a girlfriend named Candace. I think that he dated here, but then there's one from Myrtle Beach, I think.
Do you know she lives in Stone Mountain?
The Candace that I know lives in Georgetown and Myrtle Beach.
This one may have moved.
Could have.
But he was talking to her last summer too.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I know he's got an ex named Candace, and then a girl from Myrtle Beach who used to kick it with named Candace. None of these girls I've ever met.
Okay. So, what do you say about the whole him saying you and him have been in a relationship? I know I just asked you that, but why would he just come up with that to say that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. Yes, we were close. Like I said, very, very close. And since George has died, we've come a little closer, but I think it's more so because he has, my boys really look up to him, because my kids, we don't have any family. They don't have any uncles. George has one brother that they met for the first time when George died. So they don't have any male figures, so they really look up to him. So now they call him Uncle Tim. My middle son even said to me, and I think I had a text message on my phone a few weeks ago, that he kind of looks up to Tim almost like a dad figure, because we don't have any men in our life. You know. In
his phone, he had you saved in his phone as Big Sis. You knew about that, right? Yeah. Okay. This is your phone from your phone. Why is he saved under Sonia under your phone? Both of his phones.
That's just what I put under. His older sister name is Sonia.
Well, why would you do that though? Unless you, that looks like you're trying to cover up him being in your phone, like you didn't want George or somebody.
Oh no, there's quite a few people in my phone that I don't have under the actual name.
Okay. So one of the things that, like I told him, is that when we took his phones, we could get everything that was done. Okay. So obviously, I was able to retrieve everything that was off of his phone. Okay. And so I have all of these emails that you sent him talking about yours and his sexual relationship. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Okay. So this is where we're at, Tia. Okay, I want you to listen to me. I know what's been going on. I know Tim's involvement. I also know there's a lot more that's been going on here, okay? What I want from you now is to understand all of this, because what it looks like is you're this hateful, horrible spouse that connived with your live-in boyfriend to kill your husband for money. If that's how it is, then that's fine. You can tell me that. But if that's not what happened, then this is your only chance to tell me what was really going on.
That's not what happened.
Then tell me this is your only chance to tell me what's really going on, because everything else looks really bad. And I'm telling you right now, if you put all of this in front of a jury without your explanation of it, that's exactly what they're gonna think.
I did not have anything to do with George's death.
Okay.
And definitely nothing dealing with him, wanting him dead for money. Nothing. At all. Okay.
So you're willing to let all of that stand in front of a jury?
Yes, as far as having anything to do with his death, yes, I am. I am. Because I know I had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Okay, but you've been having a relationship with Tim. What has he said to you?
He hasn't never said anything about wanting to hurt George ever or taking over the business. That's why I'm sitting here like, this is new to me. He's never said he wanted to take over Metro Atlanta security. He's never told me he wanted George dead. He never said he was going to try to hurt George. Never. Not once.
All right. So George got home at 11:23, okay? And he had just gotten off the phone. And when he got off the phone, he came inside, or came to open the door. And that's when people remember hearing the shots around that same time, too, okay? The 911 call was not placed till 10 minutes later when you guys called. Now, in that time, I've gone over the story with you multiple times, and you've told me that he opened the door, he saw it was George and all of that. So I can tell you that when I go back and listen to the 911 call, that it is absolutely 100% completely staged. The things you told the dispatcher, you had already done and already said.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't, and I wasn't.
Why not?
Because he told me to call 911, and that's exactly what I did, and everything the lady asked me.
And then while you're on the phone with her, he says, oh, there's somebody got shot. And then he says, oh, can you send an ambulance? My brother now says it's my husband that was hit. But you already knew that.
I did. When I made the call, when he told me to call 911, the lady asked me, I said, I heard some shots. She asked me, I believe she asked me, I don't know, I think she might have asked me, did I know who it is or whatever. I don't remember. I don't remember all the details. But what I'm saying is, when I called, it was not staged. I called as soon as I heard the shots, went and found Tim. Well, what I thought at first was firecrackers. I wasn't sure what it was. Okay. And went and found Tim, and he checked and told me whatever the time frame was to call 911. That's what I did. Okay. I did not stage the conversation or any of that.
Okay. Well, talk to me about this then. How did this happen? How did you guys enter into this relationship while he's living in the house behind George? I don't remember when it. I don't remember exactly when it started. I think it was around the time that I thought George was messing with the girl Mariah. I never had any real proof. I saw something on his tablet at one point, and I questioned him about it. He denied it. He said, he was not sleeping with her. She was just a secretary for him and Rob. I didn't have anything to worry about, but to me, I felt like it was more to it than that. Okay. So you were pursuing this relationship because even in your emails, it sounds like Tim was trying to cut it off, and you were the one that was continuously talking to him and continuing it, right? I was hurt about it, yeah, because I found out he was, he had told me he wasn't talking to Zena anymore. He wasn't messing with, anybody else anymore. Just kind of got caught in some lies, and I questioned him about it. So, these messages were in that phone, okay, the day that we went to go do the search warrant when you called Kim and told her to go get the phone. Is this what you were worried that we were going to find? To be honest, yes. Well, that's what I want is honesty. To be honest, yes, I was. Okay, because this looks really bad. To be honest, yes. I was very afraid of that part, yes. And you've been in this house and you've been living with him, and whether or not you guys are in a relationship, I don't know because I'm not in there anymore, but that's what it looks like. And I know that he's not just living in this house and nothing has been said. So if you know something, I need you to explain it to me and help me, because he's going to implicate you and he can take you down with him. Okay? And I don't think you want that. So that's why I'm telling you, what do you know? What has he said? What is going on? Nothing as far as the murder of Mr. Smith. Nothing. I don't know that Tim had anything to do with it. He has not opened up, confessed nothing to me. Like I said, we discussed the tracker, I think, once, and that was the night after we left here, when you told me that somebody said they saw him getting it before they helped George or whatever it was. But as far as the case, we don't even discuss it. Like, there's very few times during the week that we even bring it up. I don't even like talking about it to my mom. I'm trying to move on as far as me and my youngest child. My older two are doing fine. My youngest one is not. So as far as the case, I don't even talk to him much about the case. Well, let me just go over some of the issues because I got to understand what's going on, okay? The white SUV thing that you guys had talked about, I asked Rob about it. I've asked a bunch of other people about it. Nobody else knew that but you and him. See, that's information that's sending me down, we'll say, a wrong trail that was only coming from you and him. So that makes it look like you guys are in something together, okay? every time that I've talked to you, it's kind of been a different story about what happened that night. And I understand it can be traumatic, but when things like this happen, people don't forget those kinds of things. So that also makes it look like, because what he told me where he saw you that night and what happened was not true. And what you told me that you saw him, it was always different. I just don't understand that. Okay? Obviously him going out and getting a tracker and that kind of stuff, it's just not right. The fact that he had $1 million life insurance policy and you called the next day. One point you told me that you went to wake up your mom and you were on the catwalk with her and...
No, she was never asleep. I never...
Well, okay, no, wait. You went to go get your mom and you brought her on the catwalk with you. One time you said you stood out there, you talked to her. That's what I can hear in the 911 call. The time before that, you said you took her into your bedroom and put her in the closet so she wouldn't wake up your kids.
When she started having a breakdown, yeah, I took her in the closet.
She told me that didn't happen.
She told you what? Did she never
She
breakdown?
told me she never went into your room and went into the closet. This whole gun running thing, okay, I looked into it. You gave me a totally different story than he did. You said it was some Cuban guy named Carlos. He said it was Terrence Bannerman, the pudding guy that you grew up with. I found Terrence. I know that stuff's not true.
The Carlos guy is
but
true.
why would you tell me Carlos and he brings up some guy? Those are not even related at all.
I have no idea. The only thing I can tell you is about the Hispanic-looking guy that came to the house looking for him. And when I didn't call George right away, I didn't even text him. I waited till he got home that night, and I told him about the guy coming by. Mm-hmm. George's eyes got real big. He looked at me, and I asked him, what in the world is this about? Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. It's somebody I got some financial help from. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it. And then I said, George, you need to tell me, because this guy said he means business. Is this something weird? I mean, are you into something that would jeopardize us? What's going on? And he just said something to the fact, he said, I'm just running weapons or delivering weapons or something like that. He said, but you don't need to worry about it.
And so then every time after that, when I asked you, is there any reason anybody would want to hurt him, you never mentioned it until we brought it up to you.
Yeah, that night when he was killed, I didn't think of it.
Why would you not think about somebody coming to your house, asking for money, looking for your husband, talking about running guns?
But it was 2 or 3 months before that. I didn't think of it at all.
Okay. How come that most of the messages and phone calls from you and Tim are deleted in your phone, but they're all in his?
I mean, were you talking about the phones you have? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would delete them. I would periodically delete them.
Okay.
There's even another coworker that I talked to that I would delete the calls from.
All right. And that night, you gave your middle son the Unisom, correct?
Yeah, but I give him. I mean, he gets that a couple times.
Well, he had before, but when we spoke to him, he said he hadn't gotten it in a long time, and that was the very first night he'd gotten it in a long time, in over a month.
It had probably been a couple of weeks, I guess.
You see what I'm saying, though? That night, the night that he normally goes out in the middle of the night between 9 and midnight is the night your husband comes home at 11 p.m. and gets killed. It makes it look like you gave it to him so that he wouldn't wake up during that time period. And it's also weird that we're there, the ambulance comes, the police come, we walked in their rooms and went everywhere, and none of them woke up in any of that.
But I asked. Me and my mom both asked everybody that came in the house. My mom, she was the first one that started asking, please be quiet. My grandchildren are asleep. My daughter doesn't want the kids to wake up.
I know, but the ambulance and everybody coming in and out, and none of them ever woke up.
And
that's the first night he got that pill? You see what I mean?
It's not the first time he had it. That's what I'm saying.
In a while.
It had been a couple of weeks. Yeah. But I don't give it to the oldest one, and I don't give it to the baby. Well, I've had to start giving it to the youngest one now to be able to get some sleep. Mm-hmm. Either Benadryl, I'll give him Benadryl, or either a Unisom. He doesn't get it every night, but he can't sleep since George died. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my middle son is the only one that will walk and pace the house 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then don't want to get up for school the next day. Mm-hmm. My oldest one, I don't think I've ever had to give him anything for sleep. But he slept through everything because we were quiet. We asked the police would they be quiet as much as possible. When some guy came around, he had to take pictures of the rooms. I asked him, was there any way he could not go in that room where the boys...
But why was that your concern? Even on the 911 call, you tell them, don't come lights and sirens. Your husband is laying out on the front porch dying, and you're worried about the kids waking up?
I didn't want my kids to see my husband bleeding to death on the front porch, Mr. Smith.
I understand that to an extent, but I just think you would be worried about him and not... I mean, your kids are going to find out.
I wanted her to send help, but I didn't want her to... If my kids had saw their dad laying in the front doors dead, I didn't want them to have that picture in their mind. Mm-hmm. I feel like any mom would have done, just like my mom did it for me. When my dad committed suicide in 2007, I was upstairs asleep. He hung himself in the basement. Mm-hmm. She let me sleep upstairs and did not wake me up until she was hoping he would be removed from the basement before they woke me up. But I ended up waking up on my own because of the commotion. Mm-hmm. But that's the same thing my mom did for me, and I was a grown woman, but she didn't want me to wake up and see my dad hanging in the basement. And I was in my 30s when he died.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, Tia. It doesn't look good. And I'm telling you right now that I have no reason to lie to you because I have all this information to go in there that I went in there and talked to him. And I just went in there with him. I didn't come in here and sit down and talk to him like I did you. I went in there and laid all of this out in front of him. And that's what he told me.
Well, I don't know why he would.
So why would he do that?
I don't know. I guess if he feels like he's going down, maybe he's just gonna try to take me with him. I don't know. I would never imagine him doing that, but that's the only thing I can figure. Because he's never said one thing about one. Matter of fact, it's hard for me to believe Tim even said that. I'm not calling you a liar, but what I'm saying is he knew, just like Rob knows, the only people who didn't know was George's family, that when George died, this company died. When he died, his alarm license dies with it. Nobody can run Metro Atlanta security once George dies. Mm-hmm. That's it. Because Ivy thought that was her big thing. Me and my brothers and sisters, we're going to keep the business going. I said, you can't. Mm-hmm. When your brother passed away, he said that years ago. That's why he wanted Tim, hopefully that Tim and David would one day maybe get their license so they could help run, they could equally run the company. But when George died, the company died. Mm-hmm. We all knew that. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to believe he would say that he wanted to take over the business.
Oh, he said it, trust me. And then right here, he's talking to David. The day before he bought the tracker, he says, David says, we need to get a spot. And Tim says, you think? And then Tim says, I got to end this mess first. And then David says, yep, you definitely do. And then the very next day, he buys the tracker.
Well, I know that he even knows the company can't be ran because neither one of them have an alarm license.
Okay, but what about the $1 million life insurance policy? And you guys being in a relationship, all of that stuff together.
Mr. Smith, I don't never get the million. I could care less. And I voiced that to my mom, my aunts. George's mom can tell you. Mm-hmm. She can tell you. I've been saying it for the past 2 or 3 months. Because she's worried about it. When are you going to get paid? What are you going to do with the kid? How are you going to... I said, Margie, I'm to the point I don't give a shit if I don't ever get the money. I'm just tired of all the stress. I just want to move on. This grief, dealing with BJ, dealing with all the things I'm dealing with. I don't give 2 shits about the money if I don't ever get it. I know how to work. That's what I've been doing the past 2 or 3 years. Working $15,000, $20,000 of overtime a year. Mm-hmm. I know how to work. So if I don't get it, it's fine. That's why if you call me to my mom, they can tell you, I ain't called in months. Mm-hmm. I don't care anymore. So the money is not an issue for me. I mean, yes, I need money. And we all do need money to live. But if I don't ever get it, that's fine. Matter of fact, I even have, the courts gave me, I got his probate, whatever you call it, executive estate paperwork. I think it was like January 25th, maybe. I've only been to one bank to see if there was money in it, and that was Regions. And I knew that's where his paycheck went, his last paycheck went. But I think he has a Wells Fargo account. I think he has a Bank of America account. I haven't been to any of them banks with the statements to try to see what's in them, to see if I could get it. I don't care. Even my mom keeps saying, Tia, with the way money is tight around here, why don't you go to those banks and see what he has? It might be something to help this household. I still haven't been. So money, that's what I'm saying, to make this out like I'm doing it for money. Or it's done for money.
I'm telling you that's what it looks like, and that's what he's telling me.
Well, that's some bull. I can tell you that. That's some bull. Yes, I will admit, and I apologize for lying. I am very embarrassed about this. I really am. I am.
And you guys are still in a relationship now?
Yes, to be honest, yes. I'm just going to be honest.
Well, that's what I want. Because listen, Tia, I'm telling you this is how it looks, and I keep telling you this. He's going to try to take you down with him. And I'm telling you, when he gets up there and he starts talking about everything and what you did, and you don't have anything to counter that, and you don't have a way to say, no, that's BS because this is actually what happened, or this is what he told me, or that's right there is going to be a huge issue. You see what I'm saying? Are you ready to go to jail today for this?
No, because I know I'm guilty of this,
then
and this is wrong.
Then tell me, there's no way he's been living under your roof and you've been in a relationship and you don't know that something was happening.
As far as this, you talking about hurting George or having a sexual? No, that part I don't.
Tia,
that part I don't. That part I don't. The sex part, the affair, I'm very, very embarrassed. I can't tell you how embarrassed I am. I really am. I'm sorry that I
So
never
much
told
that you
you.
continued it past your husband dying?
The first 2 months we did. It started back up around the 1st of March. The first couple of months we didn't. We called it up. We just stopped because I'm going to tell you the truth. I was afraid that my boys would end up picking up on something is wrong or catching us kissing or something. So we both said the boys have been through enough and I didn't want to chance them seeing anything inappropriate to send them off. Because I'm sure it would hurt them deeply that I'm talking to Tim and Daddy's just not too long ago died. So I think it might have been like the middle of February or 1st of March when we kind of gotten talk, kind of get romantic again. But up until then, no.
Okay. So you don't know anything about
nothing about the crime. I do not know nothing.
Why do you think if he loves you and he's been in a relationship with you and you guys have had this ongoing relationship and he has stayed with you through all of this, that he is so easily going to bring you into this with him?
I don't know. I don't know, Mr. Smith. I don't know. I don't know why he's saying that I knew he wanted to take over the business, that I did it for money, that I know he had anything to... I don't know. I do not know. I'm sitting here I don't know. Because I know nothing about it. Nothing. All I know is what happened that night. That's all I know. And then when I came here the 18th and y'all talked to me. That's all I know.
But the problem is that I'm talking about all these tracker things and things too, and I'm telling you George didn't know anything about that. There is nothing to show that he knows about it.
The only part I don't get is I know George came to me talking about the tracker. When the white, I think it was a white Infiniti SUV, those couple of encounters he had with that. Then when I told him about the Carlos guy, it was, I don't know if it was days. I can't say if it was days or
weeks.
But
don't you think he would have went to someone who could have helped him, like Rob or Antoine or somebody else that knows something about security, that knows something? Why would he only tell you and Tim? No one else knew anything about that.
I don't know. Just like it doesn't make sense to me that Rob didn't know Tim stayed there. That still blows my mind. That's a question I wish I could ask George. Like I said, I did not know. So to me, George did certain things for certain reasons. Why he didn't tell Rob that Tim lived there, and Rob even knew Tim. They worked on sites together. And that's what Rob kept saying, Tim, we work together. Why wouldn't Cuz tell me? I don't know. Ivy was upset because he was closer to Ivy than anybody, closer than his mama. And for Ivy not to know blew my mind. I didn't know she didn't know. So what I'm saying is there are reasons. I don't know why George had certain reasons that he told this person this, but didn't tell this one that. Now he's got a friend named Matt Hoover that lives in Decula. They've been friends for probably 10 years. Matt told me maybe a week after George died, because I was telling him about how George's family is so pissed that Tim lived there and they didn't know, blah, blah, blah. And Matt sat there and he said, I knew it. And I said, you knew what? He said, I knew Tim lived there. And I said, well, when did he tell you? He said 3 days after Tim moved in. You can call. I can give you Matt's number now. And I said, so George told you that you knew Tim has been here since he said, since the week he moved in, I knew he lived there. He said, but I never said a word to Trina. His wife didn't even know. He didn't even tell Trina. Trina is his wife, and I'm close to Trina. And as he's telling me, Trina looked over and said, Matt, you never told me. He said, it's nobody's business. But Pete Myers is another close friend of George. Pete didn't know. But he told Matt. So I don't understand.
If you didn't know anything about it and Tim did it, then who would Tim have gotten to do it if he wasn't going to do it himself, if he was in the house with you?
I don't know. The only friend I know that Tim has that he's close to is David. That's the only name I ever hear him talk about is David. That's it. And I know they've been best friends. I don't know how far back it goes. I think it goes back to Walmart days when he was a manager at Walmart. I've never really heard him, talking about any other guys other than David.
So, but again, like I said, all these things, the 911, the different stories every time, only you guys know in the SUV, the life insurance policy, him going out to his car, you guys being in a relationship, all of this other stuff, the trackers, these things like that I can show and prove the things that he's done. And I know that you guys are in a relationship because you both admitted to it. And then, the only time that your son had gotten the Unisom was in the middle of that night. I'm telling you, that's how it looks. That is how all of this looks. And I'm telling you that that's how a jury would see it.
Okay, but Ms. Smith, not being a smart ass, if I was going to give, why would I just give the middle one Unisom? I didn't give my oldest one Unisom. I didn't give the baby boy Unisom.
Well, I don't know that you didn't. I mean, did you?
No, I didn't. And you can ask them. I'm sure y'all probably asked the boys that day.
One because he's the only one that got up in those hours that George was coming home that night. You see what I mean?
No, both of my oldest two stay up late. Just the middle one stays up to 2 and 3, pacing the house, going in my mom's room talking. But the older two, both of them stay up late. Even my oldest one, there's nothing for him to be up to 12, 1 o'clock. The middle one is the only one I think has insomnia that roams around the house to 2 and 3.
And you remember George talking about that week of the murder that he was going to fix the cameras, and him and Dylan were going to fix the cameras outside?
Not that week. The boys told me that.
Okay.
I wasn't present. I didn't know nothing about it.
You see how that kind of put a timeline on it, that it had to be moved up? Because if they waited another week for George to be killed, then the cameras would have been working. So the person that did it knew that. They knew the cameras were going to be working soon, and they had to do it then.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Couldn't follow what you were saying. Yeah. I see what you're saying, but I didn't get what you were saying. Like I said, I didn't know nothing about the conversation until the boys told me after. I think when the news interviewed us or something, and the boys said that their dad had talked to them about training. I think he was going to let my oldest one watch him do the cameras or whatever, because he would take him in the summer. But my thing is I just found out not too long ago that the neighbor across the street told me that the cameras at the pool, at the whatchamacallit house wasn't working. So she said it was something with the computer that powers the cameras was down. But, I mean, I know I didn't have nothing to do with that either. But, I mean, I'm sure that looked suspicious that the cameras at the pool house weren't working. I ain't have nothing to do with that. I don't think he had nothing to do with it.
I'm just saying all the stuff that I've explained to you. You see how that all adds up?
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
So that's why I was hoping that you had an explanation.
I don't have no explanation. As far as the murder, no. I have no explanation for that. None. And if, like I said, I can give you a list of people you can call before I even have access to my phone. They will tell you Kim Drayton, Candace Hoover, Trina. I can name 4 or 5 that I've told over the past few months. I don't give a shit if I don't ever get the money. It ain't about, and a lot of them don't know how much it is, but they know I have a life insurance policy. And I told them, I just want this stress to be over. I'm tired of the stress. The money, I could care less. And like I said, my mom will tell you right now, she's pissed because I won't go to Wells Fargo and Bank of America to see what money's in there and take it out. Because she said, Tia, we need it to live. I told her I don't want to deal with nothing. When I get depressed, I deal with depression anyway.
Does your mom know about the relationship?
No.
Between you and Tim?
No, she doesn't.
Does anybody else know?
In the house, no. No.
What about outside the house?
One girlfriend of mine named Candace Hoover. Not the Candace he used to date. A different Candace. She doesn't know all the details, but she knows that we had something going last year.
I'm telling you, Tia, he's going to take you down in a ball of fire with him.
Well, he'll be doing it with a bunch of lies. Because I had the sexual relationship, I will admit. I'm embarrassed to stand before a jury to admit it, but if I have to, I have to. I mean, it happened. I lied about it, and I'm sorry. I mean, it was embarrassing and I did it. But as far as the murder, I ain't got shit to do with it. Don't know nothing about it. Had nothing to do with it. Nothing. I know nothing about it. Nothing.
And you never suspected him in all of this? Ever?
No, not until y'all brought up the night you had to come in on the 18th, and y'all kept saying he took the tracker off that night. Like I said, I wasn't quite aware that it was before the CPR, and I think y'all told me that.
I think it was all, that's what I'm telling you, it was all done before I think you even knew or came downstairs, if that's what happened.
I don't understand, like, was his weapon used in it?
Maybe. That's why I want to know.
I have no idea.
Because I don't want him to take you down with him and make you out to be this horrible monster if there's something that you know and you're just wanting to protect him.
No,
this is not the time.
Nope, there's nothing. The only thing, like I said, that I have to admit now to the world, I guess, is the affair.
Well, I just want you. I don't want you to protect him.
I'm not protecting him. I have to own the things that I'm guilty of. I will own it at this point. The affair, I'm very embarrassed, and I know my mom and my children would be very hurt by it. But if it has to come out, it has to come out. But anything beyond a freaking affair, that's it. That's the only thing I'm guilty of, is having an affair. Yes, and I'm not belittling it like it's nothing. I know that's a big thing. So I'm not saying it like, oh, that's all I did. But that is the only damn thing I'm guilty of, is that. That is it. And is it wrong? Is it dirty? Is it treacherous? Yes. But I will own it. That is what happened.
Okay.
And if I need to, I mean, you have to tell me. Do I need to go ahead and tell my children about their affair?
I don't tell your children. That's not my job. I don't tell people that.
Okay. I didn't know whether I needed to go home and go ahead and tell them that.
I don't.
Now, will you be telling? I know you. It's up to you whether you tell me or not. Will you be telling his mom and his sisters about it?
About the affair?
Yes.
I don't discuss those types of things. If he was charged or somebody's charged him, then I will tell him, hey, so and so's been charged in the murder, but I'm not gonna go divulge
Okay,
every
because
single
I
detail.
prefer if you're gonna tell him, I'd rather tell him first.
Okay.
That's the one I'm asking.
All right. Let me go talk to him again. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you need right now?
No, but I'm gonna have to. My son needs to get to practice at 5:30.
Okay. All right.
I got it. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
I gotta use the bathroom. Where can I use it?
Yeah, wait, let me get a female detective real quick, okay? I'll go get one for you.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry.
Phew, I got big feelings, right? Yes, please. Thank you.
Right before that black. Yes, ma'am. Do you need any water or anything? You're
Uh-uh,
good?
I got some.
Okay. Just knock if you need anything, okay?
Just knock?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, someone will be outside able to hear you.
Okay.
Hey, Tia. All right, listen. I went and talked to Tim some more. Okay. Obviously his story's not changing. Okay. He's implicating you and he's bringing you into this and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So unfortunately, you are gonna have to go to jail tonight. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Can I call my mom?
Well, let me ask them and see what they want to do, and I'll let you know right quick. Okay.
All right.
Just wait right here for a second.
All right, Tia, if you could stand up for me, please.
Okay.
Turn and face the wall. If you want to take off your visitor pass, if you want to put your hands behind your back, over your, yeah. I will get you a bag, and put all your property in it.
All right.
What'd you say your name was, man?
Tia.
Tia.
Mm-hmm.
Stand by just a second.
You got him in the bag.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
She good to go now?
Yep.
Okay. Is this your water?
Yes.
I'm gonna throw it in that trash can right there.
Okay.
You want to sit before you go?
No.